So this being Geneva, there's an overwhelming minority of people in the room who are Swiss. Can I get the people who are Swiss to raise your hands for a minute? Swiss nationality, raise your hand. Everybody who just raised their hand is not allowed to answer this question. Anybody know who this is? Yeah?
But I don't remember her name.
Anybody? It's Julie Maurer, yes. This is the president of the Swiss Confederation.
Okay.
All the Swiss people are like, phew. Something interesting happened with Julie Maurer earlier this year. That was the most interesting and relevant case study for political social media that I could possibly find anywhere on the planet. Which is that this guy decided in January that he wanted to be closer to the average Swiss citizen. He wanted their ideas, their proposals, their comments. He wanted to start a new era of governance from his perspective of really listening on every choice. So he started a Facebook page. Now his Facebook page did pretty well. It got about 2,000 likes in about 2 months, which is respectable for somebody just starting. But by the 1st of April he had shut it down, angrily and suddenly and without any explanation. When he was asked by the media, why did you shut down this group, he gave a couple reasons. Number one, his staff didn't have the time to interact with hundreds or thousands of comments that he would get. Number two, most of the comments were completely just insults or totally off topic. And number three, they had no relevancy to what he was posting about. He'd post a picture of him with a baby, and he would get groups from Turkey or Latin America or Africa that were yelling at him about Swiss policy on something completely different. He says, this has no relevancy to me, he shut it down. Now if you go to his website, his main interaction feature is a form you can fill out. It doesn't tell you where it's going to or who, but you can leave a comment, and eventually he'll get it. Now, this showed more clearly than anyone on the planet the three biggest problems right now in political social media. Very little interaction between citizens and their politicians, low quality of comments, and they're not built for politics. If you, whatever country you're from, using Facebook and Twitter, you cannot find your politicians unless you know their name. That's not useful if you're trying to find your politicians. So these platforms are not built for politics. And even when good quality comments do eventually appear on social media, though they be the minority, they get buried in a slaughter of nothing. So as you go around to political social media and go on Facebook groups, you can see silly comments, insults at the top, links to other pages. You can see things floating to the top that are simply calling someone a right-wing corporate barbarian, or the associated spam that comes with it. That's the problem. So what's the solution? Our solution is this: creating an organized, simple, and interactive platform that's designed for politics. So let me tell you about it. This is GovFaces. More specifically, this is a politician's page. Now the first thing you'll notice is this fine-looking gentleman here has a photo and his name, some brief information, some statistics in the top right, who's talking to him, how responsive is he. But as you start scrolling down his page, you notice that as opposed to Facebook and Twitter, his page is not full of content from him. It's full of content from citizens. Questions, comments, ideas, proposals, things that citizens want answers on. And if you look for each item here, there's an up and a down vote for each item. So the community gets to decide what goes to the top, what goes to the bottom. So within 3 seconds of logging in, this politician can tell me what his top 2 issues of the day are. If he wants to spend 60 additional seconds, he can start looking at what the community is saying on that topic. But that's something that he cannot do on any other website. It saves him hours, and it saves him thousands of euros worth of analytics firms. Now, of course, he can respond to this. He can respond with text. But one of the more valuable things is he can go into the community conversation. This happens to be a question about industrial policy, and so I put up some basic ideas of what the community conversation might look like, people talking about this. He can also respond directly with a video. Imagine getting a video response from the president of your country or from a local politician. It matters more to you than a text response because you know it's not his assistant typing it. In that way, We fixed a couple issues. There's still going to be low quality content, don't get me wrong. I'm not that naive, neither are any of us. We know there's going to be low quality content. But when the community decides what they want a response on, our tests have shown usually they pick the most well-stated, or at least the most personal appeal, the one that appeals to the broadest amount of users. And if it is an insult that 40,000 people want an answer on, this politician has a gold platter of a place to respond, a place to control his message, and so be it. And we've also fixed the Built for Politics with our search feature up there at the top. Now, nobody actually really uses search anymore. It's kind of an outdated content. Think about how often you actually use the search feature on Facebook. Usually you just type in a name and then click on one that pops up. The search feature is intended for people who don't know what they're searching for. Maybe you don't know Kurt Rubin's name. Maybe you don't care about who represents you in the European Parliament. You just care about getting a job. You care about unemployment. Great. Type in unemployment. You'll see the politicians that are working on unemployment. You'll get the chair and vice chair of the unemployment committee within the Parliament. You'll get the commissioner who's working on that the most. You'll also get politicians who have tagged themselves as, this is my area. I want to talk to citizens about unemployment. Or, eventually, type in your postal code. You'll get a list of local politicians, from everyone from your mayor to your city council, your regional politicians, your federal politicians, and even politicians in the EU. And again, this is a feature that doesn't exist anywhere else, is a full list of everyone who could have an impact on your life politically.